What's going on, you guys? So I got some trunk pins in for the car, so I figured I'd do a video on how I go about installing hood and trunk pins. So the first thing I do is get the trunk on the car or hood on the car and get it, relatively lined up to where I need it to be. Now, the ones inward are gonna go right about here. So I went ahead and I marked out the center of that. So once I know the center of that, I marked kind of a center line to follow on the body. Yes, I know, ideally drawing Sharpie on your car is not the best idea. But this thing is going to get painted or wrapped or whatever, so I'm not really worried about it. If this is on your daily driver or street car or something like that you want to keep looking nice, just throw a little paint or painter's tape down on it, and you can Sharpie right over the painter's tape and then peel it off when you're done, and that works great for it. So now I have this space right here in between here that I need to figure out where to actually put the hood pin. Now we do have a general idea of where the pin's gonna go around here. So I cut out a small little template out of construction paper here that fits in that corner like that. So this little piece of construction paper has more than enough surface area and is well within the range of where our pin is gonna go. So what I'm gonna do now is transfer this over out of aluminum and cut it out, but I'm gonna leave a tab on each side that I can bend up and use to mount to the actual chassis with rib nuts and bolts. Now normally on like a hood or you could possibly even get away with just drilling through the body right here, just dropping this through and then nut and bolting it and kind of bending it in place. But I kind of just want to do a remote bracket for it, that way it's easy to replace if I need to. If something gets messed up, it doesn't really tweak as easily, or if it does get tweaked, it's easy to fix. So yeah, I'm gonna do that real quick. And this is kind of what I came up with for the brackets. I just cut it out of aluminum, left some material on the end to cut tabs out of. Now that our holes are drilled out, basically just line that up where it's gonna go, mark our holes out, drill them out, pop some rib nuts in, and then we're gonna bolt that bracket down. If I've said it before once, I've probably said it 100 times. I cannot stress enough how important it is to use rib nuts on stuff. It makes doing things like this way easier. There we have our bracket bolted onto the chassis just like that. When I'm done, I am gonna go over and clean up all the edges of this, round off the corners real nice. Just clean it up, make it look a little bit better, and then throw a coat of paint on it. But now that we have that on there, is the next step, and that's getting the actual holes aligned. So we marked out the hole on the trunk. So what we're gonna do first we're gonna drill the hole out on the trunk, probably to about a 1/2 inch, enough to get a Sharpie down through. And then after we have the hole in the trunk, we'll get everything lined back up, drop a Sharpie down, and mark out the hole on the plate. And then we can drill the plate out. So we went ahead and marked our hole out, and then I drilled a pilot hole. Now what I'm gonna do is open that up to about a 1/2 inch and drop this down through, and then we'll be able to figure out and set our height on this. There was one thing I forgot to mention about the style of these hood pins, and that is they're a little bit wider on the top. So with the sliding latch style hood pins, or trunk pins as I'm using them for, I do need to go ahead and oval this hole out. I have an air compressor and a grinder, so that's what I'm gonna use. If you don't have one of those, you can use a drill bit and just kind of hollow it out, file it out. But I'm gonna go ahead, open that hole up, and we'll get our first test fit. So you can see I went ahead, ovaled the hole out a little bit. Another thing I did want to show you that I had to do, so that's the original length of the hood pin. I did need to cut it down to about there to make it fit. Now, when you cut these down, if you have clearance issues for some reason, do it a little bit at a time. Take off 1/4 inch here, 1/2 inch there. Don't just eyeball it and think, oh, I need to cut it here. Because if you cut it too much, you know, you screwed yourself. So if you got to cut it, do it a little bit at a time. Now, the easiest way to do height shimming to keep it from dropping too low is to take a piece of rubber hose, drop it over the portion of the pin that sticks out, and you can kind of trim it down and get your height set off of that. And that's really the easiest way to do that. I don't have any hose laying around here other than some AN line, which I'm not going to waste AN line on that. But there is one last step we got to do. And that is mount the actual latch. It's actually the easiest part. So we will get that lined up in there where it's going to go. Like that. I like to pull up on it and keep it kind of tight, and then go ahead and I just make sure everything's squared. I mark my holes out, pull it apart, and drill it. So I'm gonna go ahead, finish that up, and I will show you guys the final product when it is done. So the kits usually come with rivets to rivet these on, but I like to have them removable, and you know, in case I need to rewrap it, paint it, whatever, pull them off for whatever reason. All I had were those type of self-tappers right there. I didn't have any decent hardware, so I'm gonna need to change that out. And back here, I had this screw that I tried using screws, but they were a little big for this back one. It kind of nicked it there, but I'm not worried about that. It's whatever. Just don't make my mistake. Make sure your hardware fits before you try to ram it in there. That's what she said. Yeah. So it slides on. Once I have the stop on the bottom of there. And there we have it, one side done. So I just got to put the spacer on the bottom there, but you know, body lines and everything line up pretty good still with the technique we used. Obviously I still need to do the back here, and I need to do this side over here. But you don't need to see me do the same thing 3 more times, so that's going to be it for this one. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the build along, and I will catch you guys later.